Welcome to Podcast Circle. I am the creator and host, Alex Hitt. On each episode of Podcast Circle, we bring together a group of entrepreneurs and business owners to have roundtable discussions about our experiences building and running businesses today. While I host and moderate the conversation, the views and opinions expressed by each guest are their own. I do not endorse any products, services, or advice shared on the podcast unless explicitly stated. With that said, let's jump into our introduction so you know who has joined us today. Laura, would you please start us off?
Laura Lorenz, Top Floor Mentoring, www.topfloormentoring.com.
I'm Burt Levy with Kumo Partners in Chicago, www.kumopartners.com.
Jody Lemieux, Conversations with Jody, conversationswithjody.com.
Evan Mestman, Pro Attitudes at www.proattitudes.com.
The topic of discussion today is, in our lifetimes, we have all wasted money and we have all wasted time. Which one is worse? Laura, would you please start us off?
Sure. I find this question really interesting because you can look at this in negative ways or positive ways. Depending on if money is important to you, then wasting money, obviously, is definitely the worst. And again, time is important, then wasting time is the worst. But I kind of like to look at it as both of them are learning experiences, so they can be positive for you as well. As long as you are looking at what occurred, trying to understand how it happened, and making changes, all of those things can be great. For me personally, wasting time is the worst thing because I can't get the time back.
Wasting time or wasting money? You know, if I waste money, I can always make more money. But if I waste time, I can never get the time back. And so in a pure black and white situation, wasting time is more crucial to me than money because I know I can get the money back. And some of the ways I see people wasting time is by giving of themselves to others that maybe aren't worth your time. And what I have incorporated into my thinking over the past couple of years is if your gut tells you something's off about somebody, it is. And don't wait around to figure out why. If you wait around to try and find the good in people, you'll usually get burned. So most of the time with wasting time came from people that weren't worth my time. And I've tried to adjust that as I move forward.
So the question is wasting time or is wasting money? Which of these two is the worst choice? And I like to come from a different perspective. The perspective I like to come from is there is no wasting, there's investing. Where are you investing your time and where are you investing your money? And that's your decision to make. And when you make this decision, there are some reflection questions you can ask of yourself. One question would be, what did I do well in this situation? Another question would be, what did I learn? And then a third one, what am I willing to do moving forward?
So which one is it? Is it time or money that's more important or more valuable? And I say neither. I think they're both valuable, but I think that when it comes to your own perspective, what's really more valuable is time, because it's the one thing you can't get back. And when I work with my clients, I'm mostly hearing that they're spending way too much time worrying. So it's really, when you're focused on time, it's about psychological time. I'd like to get people to stop even focusing on psychological time because it's all about living in the now. If you're focused on the future, you're fear-based. If you're focused on the past, you're regret-based. And it's really living in that precious present, which we all do, but we forget. And it's becoming conscious of that we now identify who we truly are, our being, and how we can actually make things happen. Money, you can always get the money back. But when it comes to time is that, I call it the precious present.
What I heard from the discussion was that both are important, but that time is something that you can't get back. You can always make more money, but you can't create more time, right? All of our lives are limited. But I want to maybe add a different perspective here. I have bills to pay. I have rent to pay. I can't pay rent with my time. I can only pay it with my money, right? So I know a lot of people out there say, wow, it's great. Yes, time is more valuable conceptually, and I value my time more, but I find myself constantly exchanging my time for money because I have to pay for things in my life. So want to open the conversation up to that. Go ahead, Evan.
It's a great question, but I think the challenge is you're thinking about this from a perspective of abundance versus scarcity. If your focus is on an outcome of making money, you'll always say it from a time perspective, I'll do this or I'll do that. That's really important to you when I have this amount of money. Rather, what about doing it with. Things happen for us, not to us. So my perspective is that the money will come if you're focusing on being the most productive you can with your time. That's my 2 cents.
It's interesting. I love the term money doesn't buy happiness, but it does rent the hell out of it. So there is a balance between time and money. And I just think it's important to keep both in perspective, because you do need to invest time in many cases to make money. But it's just an interesting balancing act. And I don't really know what that answer is. But I know that the money does not buy happiness. And I know it takes very little in life to really, truly be happy. And not money, not your work, but surrounding yourself with people that are good for you, good to you, and good for your soul. And when you can find those type of people in life to collaborate with, to work with, to have as clients, to have as friends, nothing better. And I think that it's much easier to have a client become a friend than it is to have a friend become a client. But it's on the quality of the people that you surround yourself, which is so important. And if you do that, usually the money will follow.
So I agree with both Burt and Evan, but I work with a lot of young professionals who are sitting right in that spot that you're talking about, paying off all their student debt and all of that kind of thing. So my perspective on that is, let's take a look at where you're spending your time and making sure that you are doing the most revenue producing things that you can be doing during that time. However, I will also say, if you're in that panic mode, money doesn't come. You have to look at it as abundance.
So I want to talk about, we obviously want to prioritize our time over making money, but I think Laura came up with a great point there of how do we optimize, if we do need money, how do we optimize our time in order to optimize our money, right? So we can get more time back and stop spending so much time chasing money. So any suggestions on optimizing time so we can have more of it? Laura?
I'm a big fan of waking up in the morning and thinking about what is my large long-term goal, and doing what is the one thing that I can do today, or the two things that I can do today that will actually take me towards that goal. So what is that one thing that I can do today that moves me towards that financial goal?
Optimizing time for priorities in your business. I like to start night before my following day, for the sole reason that you're prioritizing the top 5 things that are going to produce for you your most income producing activities. What ends up happening though is when you start to get distracted by steps 3 and 4 and 5. You start with step 1 that next day and you've accomplished step 1. Then you get into step 2 and you accomplish that. What I find when people get distracted with their time is where they start to fall apart, and their day-to-day optimizing their time. And then their goal achieving starts to fall apart as well. So it starts the day before, making a list of the top 5 things that you want to accomplish the next day. Stay with step 1, complete step 1, then go on to step 2. That's been really helpful in income producing and optimizing time.
I love the term make a sale or a commission, make a friend or a fortune. And I think one of the greatest ways to invest your time is to remove the linear component in your business thinking by saying you only have to meet people that could actually become clients of yours. Be open, meet anybody you can, because everybody's got a journey. And it's wonderful to hear other people's journeys. It's wonderful to share your own. And you'd be so surprised that who knows who, because you're really investing in people and you're investing in their networks of people. And that could be the greatest thing. And too many people are hung up on just trying to find that perfect meeting that could turn their business around with a phone call. And it just doesn't work like that. And I think that anytime somebody wants to listen to the story of why you are the way you are, that is an absolute gift. And you should take advantage of that anytime you can. And you would be so surprised at what happens by just being open to meeting the people, meeting other professionals in different areas of work. But again, make a sale or a commission, make a friend or a fortune.
I love what Jody and Laura and Burt had to say, but if we take a step back, overall success for people or optimizing what they're doing with their time is an intersection of attitude, their behavior, what they do, and their technique of how they do it. Where the 3 of those intersect is success. And part of the challenge is that we get in our own way. Like Laura said, we don't focus on behaviors that are actually generating revenue. We don't spend time, like Burt talked about, investing in practicing and creating those relationships. It's not a linear line, it's a development. And then I think attitude plays a huge role and how you perceive things. If you think you can, you can. But if you think you can't, you won't. And so part of this about optimization is about doing all the things that everybody talked about, but understand that it's not about outcomes. I think outcomes are great to get you started, but what really changes things is helping people to focus on identity. Who do they want to become? And when you want to optimize time, you don't hit the snooze button in the morning. If you say, I'm a racer, I'm going out for a run because I want to be a winner in a race. Or if I'm a successful, healthy business person, I'm not going out to eat a cheeseburger and French fries and drink several beers. If I have an identity of being a non-smoker, I'm not going to be tempted by smoking.
So I love this topic of conversation because, as Evan is beautifully identifying for all of us, is our identity. Who are we? Who are we that show up every day? If you are coming from an attitude of gaining something or giving something, it's all in the perspective of, are you here to serve others or are you here to receive for yourself? And I just love this topic of conversation that we all brought today, because we're here to give to others.
Love the conversation today. I wanted to share a poem that I wrote a long time ago about time. It's eat the fruit while it's ripe. Passion is a dying light. Passions under your control will not be passions when you're old. So don't leave until tomorrow to do what you should have done today. Fight against the dying light and make life a burning flame. That's a wrap for Podcast Circle. Thank you to all of our guests for sharing their insights today. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening, and also head over to my website, alexhitt.com, to find additional resources, attend upcoming online events, and to apply to be the next guest on Podcast Circle.